Yo, welcome in everyone to another episode of Between the Hedges. Glad to be back with you guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. I know it's been a week. I hope everybody had a great Christmas. And hope that everyone has a happy new year watching some bowl games, getting in on the action starting tonight. Um, how are y'all doing tonight? Glad to be back on.
Yeah, it's been too long. It's really been too long. It's good to be back. And Merry Christmas to everybody out there. And
Doing
Happy New
well.
Year.
Yeah, I would say I'm doing pretty well myself. Definitely has been a while. And ready for the new year for sure.
Well, Um, let's get started on this rundown here. So we're going over the New Year's Six bowls, starting with the one that's on right now, the Goodyear Cotton Bowl between Missouri and Ohio State. I know right before we got started, I think Ohio State had the ball for the second or third time in the game. No score yet, and um, Ohio State looked pretty shaky with their new quarterback to start this game,
Signs of things to come for next year.
right?
It's not
Um,
looking good unless they get somebody out of the transfer portal.
yeah, I would agree. They're one of the teams that's in a desperate um, position to get a quarterback because, yeah, this kid that's starting tonight may be good and he may end up being good, but they said the same thing about Kyle McCord, and you saw how that worked out. So.
What year is this guy that's starting? Is he a freshman?
Sophomore.
So he's already been there a couple of years not playing. And I heard before going into this game, people were talking like he's the next greatest big thing to come down the pipe for them. But the thing that I hesitate to even acknowledge that is because if he was all that and so good, why didn't he beat out McCord this season at some point? I mean, because McCord wasn't, you know, all that great. I mean, let's be honest, he wasn't, as good as CJ Stroud, right? By a long shot. So, I mean, if this kid is all that good, he should have been able to beat him out at some point this season, you would have thought.
And just a live update. That sophomore quarterback is hurt. He had some tape wrapped around his ankle just now. So he might be out too.
Mm,
Just
ouch.
to put that out there right now. They
All the
just kicked the
Buckeye
field
fans are
goal.
going to be begging McCord, getting on the phone, asking McCord to come back and play tonight,
Exactly.
Although
And Marvin
that,
Harris.
even though they ran him out of town. It looks like Ohio State scored, though. It's now 3-0 Ohio State.
okay, well, that's points on the board. I, I don't want to spend too much time on these games, other than Georgia in the playoff, but um, I fully expect Missouri to get going here. That Missouri team that I watched come into Athens, and push us. I think that they are the superior team, even without Kyle McCord transferring and Marvin Harrison sitting out. Ohio State this year just did not look like Ohio State teams of the past. So I expect Missouri to pull this one out tonight, and get their first 11 win season in ten years.
I agree. I think Missouri will pull this one out as the game wears on. And I mean, let's be honest, Missouri probably gave Georgia uh, the best everything we could handle and then some for the last two seasons. They probably played us closer than and tougher than anybody did these last couple of years, 2 or 3 years, except for uh, maybe Ohio State. and of course Alabama when they beat us. But um, Missouri just is a tough team. They're tough out for anybody right now. They're starting to accumulate talent, and I think they're setting the groundwork for hopefully good things down the road for them. It's hopefully it'll be sustainable for them.
I believe so too. Knowing how Missouri played against Georgia, which is the best team in the nation, hands down. Um, this game definitely will show how Missouri is and how the SEC will be, because now that they're one division, or going to be one division, 16 teams, if you're not in the top three, four, you're not playing in the playoff. So maybe even top six in the SEC. So, um, and also with Ohio State not having Marvin Harris, which is understandable. He's a top two, top three draft pick coming up in this 2024 NFL draft. So this game is definitely in Missouri's hands for sure.
And quick shout out to Casey tuning in, one of our loyal fans. She's chiming in on the chat saying hello. So just say, hey, Casey, what's up?
Hey,
So,
wifey.
well, we can give some more live updates on this game as we go.
What do
Maybe
we think the final score is going to be for this one? Any thoughts?
mm,
Quickly, just quick. What do you think off the top of your head?
30-17 Missouri.
32-20 Missouri.
I'm going to say it's a little closer than that. I'm going to say 28-21. Missouri wins.
And the line was Ohio State -5, by the way. So we're all saying
We're
that
all picking the upset.
we're picking an upset and we're picking them to win by, at least a touchdown. So on the point spread, that's +12 and higher that we're saying. Uh, so that's probably not going to happen, but
So do we know more than Vegas?
We do.
I think I think we're just SEC biased,
A little bit.
but
A little bit.
my eyes tell me when I've watched these two teams who the better team is. So that's who I'm going with. Um, and to kick off a good weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and into Monday of games, we have the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl here in the great state of Georgia in downtown Atlanta. Um, Starting at noon tomorrow. So really, this is, not that the Cotton Bowl is not exciting, but this one's exciting because it's always SEC, Big Ten, or SEC. It starts out SEC, ACC to start the season with the kickoff in Atlanta, and so this one, and it's a top 10 matchup as well. Well, 10 and 11. So this one should be good between Ole Miss and Penn State. Um, although, do we really think Penn State has the offense to make this a good one?
Yeah, because we both saw Ole Miss's defense, and their defense just really isn't all that good at all. So that kind of evens out. You've got a good offense going against a good defense, and a bad offense going against a bad defense. So, I mean, it pretty much levels it out a little bit to where, you know, the line on that game is like 3.5 points. Penn State's favored. So,
Which I think that, just is a nod to the higher ranked opponent, and Ole Miss getting kind of having the wheels kind of starting to not fall off, but start to get loose at the end of the season, getting embarrassed in Athens. I think, like you said, though, that had to do with the defense just being atrocious as normal for Lane Kiffin teams. And then just the offense not being able to get going against a legit defense. So Penn State will pose a threat to Ole Miss because of that, in my opinion.
I disagree with both of y'all. I don't think Ole Miss will, uh, or I don't think Penn State will keep it close. Ole Miss has a solid offense and are pretty much crackheads. So I think Penn State's defense is going to have a hard time stopping that.
So you think one of the best defenses statistically in the nation is just going to fall apart tomorrow?
Yeah.
Well, I'd go
It,
under the category of thinking that the Big Ten defenses, they all, if you look at stats this year, a lot of them are ranked high on the stats. Um, my argument for that is the reason why that is because a lot of the offenses in the Big Ten are suspect, a little lacking, and they're playing each other. So, how much of it is really, really good defense and how much of it is bad offense? And you get to play where they played 9 conference games, I think, here in the Big Ten. So 9 of their games have been against what I would deem inadequate offensive teams. So it kind of inflates those defensive numbers a little bit. It's just an interesting argument to contemplate when you're looking at their defenses and how they rank nationally and stuff. Um, so it'll be interesting in these couple of games where you get the SEC versus Big Ten matchups, um, which way they roll. Because I definitely think Missouri and Ole Miss have more than adequate offenses. Missouri has a really good defense, if you ask me, too. And it'd be interesting to see how well Ole Miss's defense can play and hold Penn State in check. Um, but the key is how can Ole Miss's offense move the ball? How well will they be able to move it against Penn State's defense? Because by far that's the strength of that team is their defense.
Yeah, I would agree. Casey said she's loving the live updates, and she asked if we would ever go to the Peach Bowl and do a live. Yeah, absolutely. You and Summer and Janice get together, get us some tickets, and we'll all three go and we'll do a live show there. That should be the goal for next year. Okay. Everybody agree with that? I got thumbs up from Matthew.
Sure, why not?
I mean, just a short drive here from Athens, and uh, why not go and do a live show and kind of, I think that would be great exposure for our podcast. So, um, well, and the line here, like you said, it was 3.5 Penn State, so that just means, and that's a neutral field, so they're saying roughly, you know, a touchdown or close to it. Penn State is better than Ole Miss, and I think it does lean that way because of the defense. But I don't know if their offense. I saw Penn State's offense against Ohio State, and they couldn't really move it a whole lot. So it'll be interesting to see that matchup tomorrow. I'll take Ole Miss though, just because they have the better quarterback, the better offense, and I just think they'll come out on top tomorrow. I'll take them winning 28-24. That'll be my prediction.
I'll be really close to that. I'll definitely say it will be like 30, 34, 34, 24, 34, 28. It would be really close. Less than 10 for sure.
I'm thinking more along the lines of like 24-21.
Even lower scoring.
I think I think I think Penn State's defense might be a little bit legit, and I think they'll have some success against Ole Miss offense. I think it might make it tough, but I still think they'll pull it out. But I think
I
it'll be
agree.
closer, 24-21. But that's once again we're going against Vegas's odds of picking the underdog. So give me the points, and I'll take Ole Miss.
You're gonna play both sides of that, huh?
No, they're getting the points. They're Penn State's favored by 3.5. So give me the points, and I think they'll win anyway. I think they'll win outright.
Went outright. Okay. Um, and a quick note, Manny Diaz just moved on from Penn State. He was their defensive coordinator, took the job at Duke. Um, his
Good old
defenses are
Dookie.
all, yeah, Dookie. His defenses are always legit to me. So, um, I think they'll hold their own tomorrow in Atlanta. And then, just moving on to the game that we care about the most, although this might be the stinker of the day. Um, I think these other games are going to be, oh, yeah, of tomorrow's games. I think this one has the potential to get the most out of hand. I don't know if y'all saw the score line from Notre Dame and uh, was it Oklahoma State? No, Oregon State. They
Oregon
played
State
Oregon. Uh, I see this maybe getting kind of like that.
going
Uh,
sideways.
it could go sideways real fast because
It has
Georgia's
big
got,
potential. It does have big potential for it to be a lopsided game
well,
because of who all Florida State's going to not have playing. And
right,
I don't think they're really engaged in the game. From the reports I've read and stuff like that, they're still harping over, and I mean, it's arguably rightfully so, being left out of the playoff, and that's their focus. Well, guess what? Tomorrow they got a game to play. That can't be their focus, or they're going to get, as Matthew would like to say, their butts handed to themselves.
That's right.
yeah,
So, yeah, the game, the Orange Bowl, definitely has the highest potential of the big six games, the New Year's six games, to get lopsided in a hurry, if you ask me, because if Georgia's clicking on offense and most of Florida State's vaunted defenses opted out and their offense, their second string quarterback that was now the starter is put his butt in the transfer portal, so he's out of there. And now their third string quarterback is the true freshman that's starting. Um, there's not a lot of positives going into this game and check marks that you would put on Florida State's side when you compare, you know, offense to defense, defense to offense, special teams, coaching. There's not a lot of check marks in Florida State's favor, if you ask me.
well,
Yeah.
the line opened just real quick, Matthew, at 10, I believe, or 10 or 11 in Georgia's favor.
It's
It's
now
now
6
20.
20.
It's now 20. Go check.
I
Yeah,
was just
I
gonna,
didn't know it had gotten that high. I thought it was 16 and a half the last I saw.
yeah.
It was
I,
16 and a half the last day or so, but this morning it changed to
20.
20 because Brock Bowers practiced today. Don't know if he'll actually play. And it's well documented that we think he probably shouldn't. But the coaching staff, his position coach and Kirby have said if he's healthy, he's going to try to give it a go. Okay. So we'll take it their word for it. But Amarius Mims is playing. Um, Carson Beck's playing. Lad McConkey probably will play. And so it's just like
I don't
Georgia's
think
got all their guys playing that are healthy and back and focused, and there's never been any grumblings about, oh, we lost the game. We should have been in the playoff. None of the distractions. It's just all been business, business, business to finish the season. So, Matthew, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna chime in and say, this game is gonna remind me a lot of when Georgia had a lot of opt-outs. I think it was against
Texas,
Texas.
Texas in the Sugar
Yeah,
Bowl.
and
Yep.
we still almost beat them without our main guys. Um, I mean, it
But
wasn't pretty, but I mean,
yeah, but
we
we
almost,
lost, and that's a good
yeah,
thing, a good game to compare this with that you brought up because I think our mindset going into that Sugar Bowl um, will be very similar to what Florida State's mindset is going into this one. I just don't think
yeah.
they're going to be locked in and engaged, and we weren't. We did not want to be in that
No.
Sugar Bowl that year, and it showed. And that's the reason why Texas was able to beat us in that game. If our guys hadn't opted out and if we had been locked in like we normally are under Kirby Smart, it would not have been a game.
I think this is just going to be the only blowout game. Well, one of the blowout games now that I look at everything um, that we're going to have in this 6 game stretch. Because Florida State is just don't care. They're done. They don't want to play anymore. They're just going through the motions, getting days done. And by the time tomorrow happens, they'll be like, oh, thank God this is over.
Yeah.
Well, I
It
don't know. I don't know if it's as much that the guys there that are playing or don't care. I think those guys that are there probably do care, and they're younger guys that are getting a chance to get some extended playing time. Um, we just don't know how good they're going to be and how well they're going to match up with the number one team in the land, best team in the country. So,
Yeah, because don't let that six next to Georgia's name fool you. That's just a placeholder because, we weren't in the playoff. We weren't one of the four, as we've talked about, because Alabama snuck in there because they took care of their business and we didn't. But number six is not, we're not the sixth best team in the country. We're still arguably the best team in the country. We're just not getting the opportunity to play for a national championship because of this format. And if this were next year, we'd be slotted in at the number five probably, and we'd be hosting a playoff game. So,
yeah, and I mean, you brought up the Georgia. Georgia has no official opt-outs in this game. That's a kind of amazing based
mhm.
on the fact that going into it, the expectation was we would be playing in the playoff and fighting for a chance to win third straight national championship. And we almost got there, losing one game in the last 3 years um,
Mhm.
by 3 points in a neutral site. You know, it is what it is at this point, but there are no official opt-outs for Georgia in this game, and there's tons of them on the other side of the ball. Florida State has had tons of them on, offense, defense, everything. Um, I don't expect Amarius Mims to play much, if at all. I really don't. I think he may dress out, but I don't think he'll play. Um, Same for Brock Bowers. I think he's going to try to work his way in there and convince coaches. They might let him make a cameo appearance, come in for a play or two, and then get him out. I don't really think he's going to play. Lad, I think he's back healthier. It'll be interesting to see how much he's improved from the SEC championship because I hope he's gotten better over the month that it's been roughly. Um, I hope he can contribute in a big way because I think it may be his last game in Georgia uniform. So I want to see him go out on top and have a good game to put a bow on his career. Um, but you know, it's just two totally stark different contrasts as far as the outlook from each team and their approach to the game. How locked in and dialed in and everything Georgia is and focused on this matchup. And, the seniors in this group on the Georgia team, they have an opportunity to win 50 games in their career before they leave. And that'll be a school record for a class. They want to do that. And the underclassmen want to get that record for them. Um, the, so, and then on the other side, you've got a bunch of, complaining that they're left out of the playoff, and you're not really sure whether they really want to even be in the game or not, want to be there to participate or not. So it doesn't set up for a good showing. And so that's the reason why I say too that it's probably likely to turn into a lopsided affair.
I agree. I think my prediction for this game, I mean, Georgia's known for slow starts this season, so it may, or, we could shock um, ourselves and me and just come out explosive. But I could see it being close in the first quarter, but I think this ends up being like a 45-14 type scenario here. And I'll give Florida State 14 just out of respect for their season, the team that they
I don't
had.
know how they're going to score much.
Yeah, but I just say that and then I
I
think,
mean,
well, how are they going to score?
Against Louisville in the ACC championship game, what was that score? Like 10-0, 10-6 or something. I mean, it's some low scoring game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was like 13-6 or something.
And that was against Louisville.
Wasn't a gauntlet of a team.
So, I mean, my guess, I when I was originally thinking about it, I was thinking that it would be somewhere around 34-13, something like that. That's a 21-point game, and it could get a lot worse than that. It really could. Um,
Depends on how
I'm
long.
kind of like you though. Florida State, the name Florida State in the season that they've had, you kind of expect them to come out and score at least a couple touchdowns. But then you think about who they got playing, and you're like, how the hell are they going to do it?
Your
Fine.
guess is a punt return, a kickoff return, a pick
Unless we make
six.
bad plays and turnovers, kind of like what we did in the SEC championship game. But, you know, anyway, it just maybe if we help them, they'll get some points. But I say the floor for Georgia is probably 34. It could be higher than that they end up with. And I think the ceiling for Florida State's probably in the 13 to 17 point range. So
I wouldn't even say that much. They couldn't
that's the
even get
ceiling. That's the most.
they barely got 6 in the championship game. How are they going to get 13-17 against Georgia?
I'm just saying it's possible if we make mistakes.
Yeah.
Pick six, that's an easy way to score, or a punt return for a touchdown, or a kickoff return for a touchdown. Somebody finds a seam, somebody blows a coverage. I mean, Lord, we blew a coverage against Vandy and they jumped out 7-0 on us because guy that's now a Georgia
Now a Georgia.
Bulldog
And
and
we
is down there
might
practicing with the team. this
Could we
week.
see him?
No, he can't play. He can practice with the
No,
team, but he can't play yet.
I thought bowl games you can.
No,
Mm-mm.
transfers cannot play in bowl games. They
So
can
he'll probably
practice,
like,
but they can't play. So, but anyway, that kid, but we busted a coverage and he took it to the house on us. So, I mean, you, these are D1 college players. They're capable. If you make mistakes, they're capable of, you know,
Yeah.
making plays.
Well, Casey says 50 question mark. So I guess
It's
that means,
possible.
yeah, I
It's
mean,
definitely on the table.
65-7 in a national championship happened last year. So, and that was with a
repeat.
team with all of their dudes, might I add.
Yeah, and it was a
Repeat.
team with all of our dudes too. Don't forget. I mean, and we were freaking clicking that night. I mean, it didn't matter what we did. It just it worked.
Yeah, we
Doesn't
can
matter
put
what
it.
it was, it worked. And we had Stiquavius leading the charge.
I knew you
Stiquavius
were gonna
Bennett
say
the
that.
fourth.
I knew you were
Go
gonna say that.
Stiquavius Bennett, baby.
Say his name.
Put some respect on that name.
We
No,
had the mailman.
He delivered back to back, baby. Best quarterback in UGA history.
That's without question. You can't argue that. There's no argument against it. Don't even try. I see you over there. Don't even try.
I can smell the wheels turning.
But let's give so Matthew your quick prediction because we've given ours.
Yeah, what do you think the final is going to be for the Georgia game?
something like TCU.
Okay.
60 burger.
We might even hit 70 if
I
things
like your
go
confidence. I hope you're right.
like
And
if
we'll
if
all
we
be
click.
together tomorrow watching it. So, it'll be
Yeah,
fun if that's the case.
if we click like we did against TCU, um, they ain't gonna stop us. We might even put 80 on them.
It just depends on how long Kirby leaves his guys in, though. That's what I was
That
gonna,
too.
because I mean, second
Yeah,
half, if we're up 20, he's probably gonna just pull
We're gonna
guys out.
pull. Hmm.
like
Yeah, and just run the
that
ball.
goes to the point that I was making earlier that we don't have any official opt-outs, but I definitely can see a scenario where some of the guys that are um possibly leaving to go to the NFL, that sort of thing. They play to start with, but then we get to see younger guys get a lot more action than what they did during the regular season and prepare, take that step to see what they'll do going into spring ball and then of course next season.
Yeah.
Yeah, even Casey chimed in and said, "Ooh, Stetson, Matthew's favorite guy."
Stickwabias.
You
My
gotta
own
love him,
wife is
baby.
against me.
You gotta love him.
My own wife is against me. I can't win
Everybody,
anywhere.
if everybody around you says that you're wrong about something, guess what?
You're probably
I'm
wrong.
right.
You're probably wrong.
You're probably wrong.
So,
I am right.
Stickwabius, if we ever get a chance to have you grace our presence, I would love it because I'd love to see this man tell him that
To
face
his
to
face.
face.
Yeah, to his face. You suck.
You suck, and all I do is sit here and watch you.
I don't care that you got two rings on your finger or not.
You still suck.
Defense carried.
Defense carried you. Yeah, that's right, buddy. Right to two netties.
Even if the defense puts a shutout out there, you still got to score to win the game.
And
The people around him carried him.
his four best games of his career were in the playoff
All
against
of
the best teams in the country, and
Yeah,
he
Yep.
had the four best games that
And he won the
anybody's had.
offensive MVP in all four of those games. All four of them. Nobody's ever done that. And since we're going away at four, I doubt it'll happen this year. So I'm going to say it'll never happen again.
Yep. That 4 game stretch will never be duplicated.
Just crazy. All right. So we've got that one talked about. What's the next one on the agenda?
Well, just quickly, the Fiesta Bowl. It's Liberty and Oregon. It's on Monday. It's kind of the matinee to the playoff, the appetizer, if you will, because I, good for Liberty. They've done really well the last 2 or 3 years. They've been kicking butt and taking names in their conference, but they're not
Welcome to big boy
Oregon.
football.
Yeah, this is the classic welcome to, big boy football. You're gonna play a real opponent now. Um, and you people, I don't think I've heard anybody say that Liberty has a chance, but if they try to tell me that they did, I would say miss me with that because uh
What's the line on
Oregon,
that game?
that one's
I don't even know.
16 and a half. So it's not
So
even the
it's not
line
even
that,
as bad as the Georgia Florida State game.
no, but it's been steady at 16 and a half. Like it opened there and it stayed
That
there.
that's crazy.
I would like
Yeah.
to chime in on that.
Is Bo Nix playing in it?
Mhm.
But I was about to say,
He
if
is.
he
He
if he
he hasn't
wasn't,
opted
then
out. I mean, has Oregon have a bunch of guys opt out? I haven't even been keeping up with it. I'll be honest, I
I
haven't.
don't think they do.
I don't think they had a ton of opt-outs.
So we're talking the regular Oregon team against the Liberty team.
Liberty.
Wow. Yeah, I
I
don't
was gonna
see
say,
how I don't see how that I would take Oregon minus the 16 and a half all day long.
yeah, you'll make some money there. But I was just gonna say, if Bo Nix is out, Liberty might, keyword might have a chance. But with him playing that we know of, um, Liberty might as well just stay on the bus and go back to
Virginia.
Virginia. Yeah. So they just need to hop back on the bus and head on the plane back home.
Well, it's competition. They're not going to do that, but I see the point because this Oregon team, everybody thought, and we thought all year that they would be in the playoff
Should
here.
be
So, I mean, but you can't lose. You can't say should be because they lost to Washington twice.
twice.
I
Yeah.
mean, you can't
That's the
lose
only
to the,
No,
downside.
they definitely lost out on their chance. I mean, it was there for them for the taking, just like it was for Georgia. And you lose your championship game, and unfortunately, it costs both of them. But of course, that was the second time Oregon lost, so they were truly had no one to blame but
eliminated.
themselves. Um, just a quick update, live update for everybody tuning in. Ohio State is still 3-0 over Missouri. There's like 4.5 minutes to go before halftime. So apparently, Ohio State's defense has been keeping Missouri in check. They haven't even scored yet in this game, and there's 4.5 minutes to go to halftime.
I think it's Missouri's quarterback. He's been struggling as well. He hasn't been hitting his receivers very well. Um,
That has something to do with the defense.
Yeah. He's been
it
facing
does,
some better
but
defenses down the stretch.
right.
So,
And also Ohio State's quarterback is still hurt, and he had a big hit happen to him and hurt his. He started wincing at his ribs and everything too. So he's just getting all beaten up today. He's like, we're Missouri is saying, welcome to the SEC."
Well, who's the emergency quarterback there? Because that would be like the fourth guy, right? Or third
I don't
guy
know.
if he
It's not my
doesn't finish.
problem. All right, so Fiesta Bowl, we're consensus. We're thinking Oregon wins and probably wins pretty big. I don't even want to put a number on it. So I say they cover.
They
Move
easily
on.
cover.
Let's move on
They
to the
cover.
big games.
Yeah. So the big games on the agenda are obviously New Year's Day with the playoff, starting with the game at 5 with Alabama and Michigan
In the Rose Bowl, right?
and the granddaddy of them all. So,
Best
it's
scenery ever.
yeah, it it sets up to be the better of the two matchups because you got two blue bloods, two powerhouses going at it. Alabama returning to the playoff and having a chance at a 10th national championship game. It's just
Insane.
that's insane. And you got Michigan who's been here back to back years and just
Choke.
could not get over the hump. Got rolled
Do
in the
they
Orange
make it out
Bowl.
of the semifinal this year?
No.
I don't know.
Do they?
Michigan will not make it. They
They're
might as
saying that
well
this Michigan
go bye
team
bye.
might have more players drafted off of it and break Georgia's record for the most players drafted in a single draft, which is 15 right now. So they're
I just
saying this Michigan team is going to, next year's NFL draft, they're going to have more than 15 players
Well,
drafted off of it.
I just
you
don't
can't
see
Give
name
how.
you can't name me 15 of those players that are better.
Well, no, I'm not a Michigan fan. I don't follow them as closely. I'm just telling you that I've read this. And if that's the case, if that's even close to being the case, Michigan may win this game.
Mhm.
No,
They may actually win this game.
nah.
It's definitely a possibility. I mean, they are the favorite. I mean, it by what I saw is a point and a half. It's close, but they're favored over Alabama, and you know what happens when Alabama's the underdog most of the time.
Exactly. So why are we
But
even talking about this?
because I think you're underselling Michigan a
I'm
wee
not.
bit.
Michigan is a joke team. No one gives them any respect until they actually prove themselves and not get goose egged all the time in the playoff when it matters. Then I'll respect them. But I don't respect them at all because they haven't shown anything. They haven't proven. They can go 12, 13, 14 and 0 and still miss the playoff or lose in the playoff, first round of the playoff. You do nothing.
I
You
feel
win.
that
I mean,
show
you're
me.
right. They have not performed in the last couple of playoffs that they've made. They lost to Georgia, bad in the Orange Bowl that year. And then they
Great.
lost to TCU, but that wasn't as that was a close game at least. I
Hmm.
mean, it's not like they
And
got
they
blown
shouldn't have
out of the
lost that.
water.
They shouldn't have lost that game. They should have beaten
Should
them.
they or shouldn't they not? I mean, TCU was on a
It,
roll.
I mean, yeah, but at the
I
same
mean,
time,
just goes back to what I'm saying with Michigan helped TCU in that game too. They
Hmm.
had, if I
exactly.
remember right, they had like four turnovers. It's hard to win a football game when you have like three, four turnovers. Ask Kentucky today. They should have killed Clemson this afternoon when they played, but they had four turnovers, I think, all in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So
Can't win like that.
they choked it away. So some of it is, are you a good team or are you just having a bad day, and the competition level and how much are you helping them? They helped TCU. TCU made plays. They won the game. Were they the better team? I don't think so.
No.
I really don't. I think Michigan was a better team. Now, tomorrow, who's the better team? Well, all I can say is that if pundits out there are saying that they may have 15 to 20 players drafted in the NFL draft next year off this team for Michigan, that means something. That means they're talented. That means they should be able to play with anybody.
Hmm.
If that's the truth, I'm just saying if that's the truth. I'm not saying whether it is the truth, but if you accept the fact that okay, say they don't break it, say they have 12 or 15. That's still in the same ballpark of what our Georgia teams were when they were winning national championships.
Yeah.
If they get
Oh,
10 to 15, that's nothing to sneeze at. That means you're
Yeah.
talented. That means you should be able to play with anybody.
Yeah, but they have
So
10 to 15 that can barely make it out of the semifinals past 2 years.
these are different
yeah.
teams. This is a different team. It's not the same players that were
Well,
there 2 years ago. They're
the
different
argument is
teams.
a lot of them were though. The running back and the quarterback were there. A lot of the defensive players were there when they lost to Georgia.
Okay.
Um, so
Did they stagnate? Are they getting any better than what they were?
I don't think JJ
Is
McCarthy,
their
the
production
quarterback's
better? I mean, I honestly think it's going to be tough for Alabama to score because I
this
will I
game
will tell their defense is legit.
this game comes down to Jalen Milroe. If he has a game like he had against Georgia, then Alabama wins the game. But if he doesn't, if he has a Texas game where he craps all over himself, then Michigan probably wins it going away.
You think Michigan wins it going away?
If he doesn't have a
Go
good
with
game,
Yeah. So anyway, what do we what just pick a winner. Who do you think wins? Alabama or Michigan? You don't have to say a score. What do you think? Who do you think wins?
Bama, easily.
I know I so
My
I
SEC homerism wants me to say Alabama.
yeah.
I want Alabama to beat them to knock the Big Ten down a few rungs off their high horse that they were trotting out all season long this year.
Hmm.
Um, Not sure if this Alabama team is the one that can do that or not to this Michigan team. I'm
Hmm.
not so sure that happens. I think it's going to be, I think Vegas is on to something on this one in particular. I think this is going to be a knock 'em, a rough, physical game that I think maybe the team with the ball last may win it, kick a field goal to win it. And I think that may be the way it comes out. Whoever has the ball last and kicks the field goal to win it wins it.
I, I say Michigan by a point. I know I started out saying like Matthew, Alabama would win this just because I've watched them beat Georgia the way they did, and Georgia looked so good the last 30 plus games. But Michigan's second to Georgia during this 3 game stretch, record wise. They're 38-3. They're just 0-2 in the playoff. But
Yeah.
I think they get over the hump, and I think they play for a national title.
I honestly think Alabama will pull it out. There's just something about when Nick Saban's on the other sideline and he's had 3+ weeks to prepare for you, and
True.
he's the underdog.
That's why I'm saying all this.
That's his wheelhouse. I don't think they're going to run away with it. I think Alabama pulls it out, but I don't think it's going to be by a large margin. I think, like I said, I think they're going to drive the ball down the field at the end of the game, kick a field goal, and that's going to be how they win it.
And I can see that happening the other way too. So that
Yeah, I
I'll
mean, I could definitely see it happening either way. That's the reason why it's a 1.5 point game by Vegas's odds. And then the final game of that evening is what? The
is
Sugar Bowl, right?
Sugar Bowl, Texas, and Washington.
Washington.
That's immediately following the Alabama-Michigan game in the Superdome, number 2 versus number 3. We've got now Washington on the nation's longest win streak at 20 games. That's not something to overlook or sneeze at. And Texas looking like the Texas of old, right? So, what do we
I'm not
think
sure what
happens
that
here?
means.
Well, Texas with Vince Young and Texas with
The one
uh,
good season Texas has had in the last
Colt McCoy.
35 years
They've had
with Vince Young, the best player, one of the best players they've ever had come through.
they had back-to-back years, Vince Young and Colt McCoy, where they played for a national championship. They probably should have won both, and they won one. So,
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
yeah. And that's the story with Texas, right? That's why they're the butt of the joke
Is Texas
recently.
back?
Right.
Back to what is
Texas.
what I say.
Well, back to America's team, because there's
Yeah,
another
Texas. Blah, 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 blah.
there's another team in that state that claims to be America's team too. That same thing. What have they done the last 30 years? Not
Nothing.
much.
Well, Texas is favored in the game. I get over Washington, who, even though they're the lower seed, they are favored, right? Last I checked, it was like 4.5,
Hmm.
which is kind of interesting to me. You got these two semifinal games where one, according to Vegas, is a 1.5 point game, and the other is a 4.5 point game. And historically speaking, in the playoffs, the semifinals are normally blowouts.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say all that, and this year is different.
Hmm.
Like we've talked about in the previous shows, this year you had at least six teams that had a really good argument to make the 4-team playoff.
Yeah.
And before you're scrounging trying to figure out, okay, who's going to be 3 and 4? Or can anybody match up with number 1 and beat them and give them a game? And most of the time the answer was no. So I think we're going to have some decent semifinal games this year, which usually doesn't happen.
Hmm.
All freaking time.
Yeah. The last one's probably going to be the best one because I don't see it being a 10 plus or 15 plus point spread for either of these games. So
So who
probably
wins
last
it? Texas,
Matthew.
Washington. Who wins it?
Texas.
So Matthew's going with the Texas Alabama championship game.
A rematch. I'll I'll take Washington.
You think they stand up, and even though they're the underdog, you think they're going to pull it out?
They've been doubted all year. They have a 20 game win streak. They've got the better quarterback. They've got the better receivers. They've probably got 3 NFL wide receivers. How is Texas going to stop them? That's my
Well,
question.
Texas's defense has got some studs on it.
On the defensive line, but what I've
Defensive
been
line, their
That
job is to
matters.
chase the quarterback and put his butt on the ground, which
okay,
they're really good at. They're really good at doing.
Which
yeah,
Washington doesn't really have a solid offensive line.
Uh,
They're
yeah,
decent.
check
They're
that. They
decent,
no, they're better than that. They just won the award for the nation's best offensive line this year.
and that's my
What
point.
the
So
Joe
if
Moore Award, is
Texas,
that what it's called? Is that what it's called?
yeah,
The last 2 years, Michigan won it, and we felt like Georgia got slighted out of those. This
because
year,
they did.
Washington won it. So I
it's
wouldn't
it's
say
a
their offensive line is a bunch of
publicity
jokes.
stunt. Publicity stunt.
Okay.
You see, Michigan won it the past 2 years. What have they done?
and
Hmm.
they've had good offensive lines. Here's the point, though. My point in saying that is if Texas's D line doesn't get home, their secondary is suspect, especially outside the numbers. I was looking into this a little bit further. Washington likes to throw outside the numbers a lot. Texas struggles there. So I can see Penix putting up 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and pulling this one out.
which is what they've done all season long.
Yeah,
All season long, they played so many close games, and somehow, some way, they pulled it out their hinkies almost well every time because they're
Every
undefeated
time
they're
every
undefeated.
time.
They beat
Uh,
America's darling Oregon twice. So
they pulled
I
it out of
think
their
I think
butts.
Washington wins it too. I'm gonna go with that too. I think Washington upsets them, even though they're 2 seed. They're the underdog, and I think they upset them, and I think they win it. And it's gonna be Washington playing Alabama for the championship.
I'll take the top 2 seeds, Michigan, Washington.
Oh, you got Michigan winning. Mm.
Yep.
So we've all got three different matchups in the national championship. Let's see who's end up being right.
Yeah. Well, look, we can't all agree on it. I think we went into it thinking it was going to be Alabama, Texas, and we all agreed on that. But just the more I've looked into it, um,
Well,
I
that is
think
what Matthew thinks.
Matthew stuck with it.
He's going to
So
be out. He thinks it's going
I'm
to be
sticking with
Alabama,
it.
Texas.
And Texas is going to win it all.
I think the
Woo,
media is
won't that
probably
be
rooting
something?
rooting for Alabama, Texas, though.
Yeah, they want to see the rematch again. They want the
Just watch.
storylines.
Just let the games do the talking. It's going to be Alabama, Texas.
Well, we'll see. Um, does anybody have any final thoughts on these 2 games before we give our final thoughts and wrap this up tonight?
Let's just do final thoughts, period.
Final thoughts, period. What do you have? Yep, start with you, Dad.
I like I said just a minute ago, I think we're gonna actually have some decent semifinal games for a change. They're not gonna be blowouts. I mean, last year when Georgia pulled that one out against Ohio State, I think that was the first time a semifinal had been close in several years. So I think the game's going to be close, and like I just said, I think you got probably what uh Alabama, Washington pulling them out late, close games, probably field goal games, you know, and they'll be exciting to watch. That since Georgia's not in it, I just want to see some good games, to fill my New Year's Day and enjoy watching the games. I just want to see some good contests.
Matthew.
Yeah. I think we have 12 good teams in this New Year's Six bowl games. Um, for the first time in a little while. Um, so I'm excited about all these games. All these games are going to be close with some, others are going to be what as expected, but definitely this playoff um definitely is really good as far as semifinals goes. Like Dad said, it's normally blowouts that happen in the semifinals, and this year that will probably not be the case at all. So it's going to be a good final hoorah for the 14 playoff before the 12 team comes into play next year.
Yeah. So I would agree with that. My final thoughts would just be, you know, It'll be weird not watching Georgia play on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Um, this will be the first time in a couple of years that we're not watching them, but it'll still be fun to watch them curb stomp Florida State tomorrow, and then just like Dad said, watch some good games in this playoff. It'll be exciting to have some close games as we think that that's what'll be the outcome. We can only hope for good games when our team's not in it. So that's all that I really hope for. And I really just don't want to see Alabama win another national championship. So I'm rooting for that not to happen more than anybody else, winning it or not. So um, I'll take the field and hope that I'm right on because if I have to hear Alabama fans say, "Oh, we got you when it mattered and we won a national championship," again, I'm just gonna have to say, "All right, whatever, screw y'all."
Well, one caveat to that happening that I've heard is if Saban does get another national championship this year, they're thinking he may just go on and retire and leave on top.
Fine by me, but I mean, that means they got to
So
win another
is
one.
it worth it for them to go ahead and pull another one out that they snuck in again to the playoff and win it just so Saban goes out on top and he retires and then you don't have to worry about facing him anymore and when you're facing Alabama. Is
It's a
it
good
is it
question.
worth it?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Something to ponder.
I'm still just tired of hearing it from Alabama fans. That's been the team that I've wanted personally Georgia to just overcome, and they haven't more often than not. So, um, go Wolverines, go go Longhorns,
Longhorns.
go Huskies. Um, and we will wrap this up for the evening. Appreciate y'all tuning in tonight. We will be back to our normal schedule. We'll be back on Sunday and then again on Tuesday. Try to get this rolling, keep our schedule, and have some guests on. So you guys think about who you want to invite on. I'll do the same, and we'll make it happen and have a good time. But y'all take care tonight. Stay safe, enjoy this weekend, and as always, go dogs.
Go dogs.